What do you want?
I want the same thing you want, Neo. And I'm willing to go as far as you are to get it.
The end of the war. Is it going to end?
One way or another.
Listeners everywhere, welcome to the Movie Show with Joel and Ryan, the weekly fix for your screen addiction and a trusted source for discussion of all things film and television. Please keep in mind that for the purposes of this podcast, Joel and Ryan are not acting as journalists, but rather fellow moving picture enthusiasts. All of their opinions should be taken as such. Also, please be warned that while Joel and Ryan may seem like petulant children, they are, in fact, adults who may occasionally use adult language. While they promise to bleep out all the worst words, it's a good bet you will still understand what they were saying. And now, with no further ado, here's Joel and Ryan.
One way or another, we will end our discussion on the Matrix franchise.
Yep.
One way or another, you are back.
Coming to an end.
Oh, thank you so much for coming back and joining us. Welcome once again to the Movie Show with Joel and Ryan. I am Joel.
And I'm Ryan.
Thank you once again. Oh, man. Okay, so we finally made it. We've made it. We made it to what...
We haven't done the work of discussing it yet. Then I'll feel like we've truly made it.
Sure, okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
But...
when the prophecy is finally fulfilled.
I am giddy with anticipation of making it through...
It is exciting.
Yeah. the two on-air meetings of... I guess we're doing I guess we're just going to continue this next week. And then having that happen again...
Yeah, it's not going to happen. I really believe in my heart it's not going to happen this time.
No, there's nowhere to... we can't possibly talk about revolutions. I guess I shouldn't say that because we didn't think that...
You should not make any promises.
You know what? I will. I'm going to get bold. I promise. I promise you, dear listener. I promise you, disembodied intro voice. We will finish our discussion today.
We're going to end the deep dive. I guarantee.
I guarantee it. Before we jump right into, I don't. Is there anything happened? Anything happened in your week that prevents us from jumping right in?
I watched several of my favorite movies this week, so to bring any of them up would be a mistake.
Okay.
Then I'd get totally sidetracked. But I will say, because it's related to the deep dive, I watched a movie from 1980 called Raise the Titanic.
Oh, yeah.
Based on a Clive Cussler novel with Jason Robards and Richard Jordan. Very old-fashioned kind of widescreen adventure tale. It's producer Lou Grade, Sir Lou Grade, later Lord Grade. His famous quote about Raise the Titanic is, "Would have been cheaper to lower the Atlantic."
That's a good line. I like that.
Apparently, that movie costs a ton of money, and I'm not sure where.
Yeah.
The model of the Titanic, and the Cussler's research and his way he did kind of in a Crichton-esque way in the book explains how they do this. So the science in it is really great.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing the Titanic, of course, in 1980, they hadn't even, or in whenever Cussler wrote the thing, they hadn't found the Titanic. And in 1980, when they made the movie, they hadn't found the Titanic. They were about to. So they thought it was in one piece. They thought a smokestack had broken off. That was all they really knew.
Yeah.
So the whole plot of the thing isn't work at all anymore. But they seeing it come up out of the water like that, this scale model that was super, super detailed, and these sets that they operated on were great. But of course, that doesn't happen till the very end.
Right.
Submersibles were fun to see in the water. That was new, not brand new, but a relatively new thing at the time. And they were done with, the real thing, which is fun. But that movie's, it's cool, but it is really kind of boring. I can't really say, go see this, but at the same time, it was sad watching it because you could tell this slow motion, the way they did it with these cameras, all the water rolling off of it and out of the windows as it comes up out of the water, or just discovering it underwater is a really exciting moment. So I feel like, and then Cussler, very famously is like, this movie's terrible. He badmouthed the movie just right when it came out. That couldn't have helped. And then refused to sell the rights to his novels to anybody else ever again until Paramount bribed him to sell them Sahara. Whatever it was, 2004 or 2006, I can't remember, with Matthew McConaughey and Steve Zahn. And that's a fun movie, too. That's all that is a James Bond movie, except James Bond isn't a suave, debonair, womanizing Englishman. He's two obnoxious, classic rock-loving Americans. But otherwise, it has all the trappings and all the excitement and set pieces of a Bond movie. So if you like adventure tales, beggars can't be choosers, really. Right. So that's one to revisit too, Sahara.
It's
half of Sahara's budget was just bribing the African country where it was shot. All the officials there.
Yeah,
there's this massive bribery.
Yeah, budget. There's a whole. I remember reading, coming across an article that's all about the behind the scenes story of Sahara.
I mean, the making of it wasn't quite so amazing.
No, but it was the mechanics, the hoops, the gymnastics had to happen to
shoot it on location in North Africa was apparently
might have been an interview with Steve Zahn or something where I came across that. It's Minnesota law that you have to see movies.
But
with
it's
Steve
fun.
Zahn
I like it slightly better than I like the National Treasure movies, for example.
Yeah,
not a lot better, but a little. No,
better. I remember enjoying it. Yeah, I remember enjoying Sahara.
So there's a little love to the two, and probably the only two Clive Cussler adaptations. They were both massive bombs for their.
If I may ask, what made you go? I'm going to watch Raise the Titanic. What went into that decision?
It's like it always is. It's a movie that takes place in and around the other movies I was watching.
Okay, so it's just kind of naturally like, oh, okay, nice.
I was one of the first movies I ever copied from a rental videotape. So I had a videotape at home that I watched one time, but I had it. It traveled with me everywhere I went, and I only ever watched it once.
Yep.
There never was an American DVD of it, so it came out on Blu-ray, and I was like, oh, I'll get this.
Sure.
It's for what it is. It's rather lavish. It's not terribly exciting because there's no shootouts or anything like that. And just watching it in that setting, listening to John Barry's music, and Jason Robards and Richard Jordan are really good actors who bring a lot of weight to what they're doing in it. That poor cat from Dark Shadows and Falcon Crest, not so much. Selby, but he's okay. And then it's got this whole cast of like the character actors of the time in it. So I mean, it's fun to watch in that way. But that's the only reason. In 1980, I was watching other things from the early 80s, basically. So the two movies I chose to watch were that extra when I had extra time were Saturn III, which we won't go into. And that's a whole nother discussion for bad cheesy sci-fi robot day or something. We'll talk about that. But Raise the Titanic, I don't know. It's out there.
So there's a Blu-ray of
really
Raise
just
the
an
Titanic.
Excuse. There is,
but there's no Blu-ray of
from
Lone
Shout
Star.
Factory.
Yeah, there's no.
No, there isn't. and
yeah, just the injustice of everything is.
Well, it's rough. There's no Blu-ray Defending Your Life.
God, that's right. Yeah, you're right.
There's no Blu-ray of Panic Room.
Really?
There's no Blu-ray of Ron Howard's The Missing. There's some really big and kind of awesome movies out there, obviously, that aren't being shown the home video love, and you never know, because some crazy things come out like Raise the Titanic.
Yeah.
You're like, wow, here it is.
Yeah.
But it's funny that every low budget horror and sci-fi movie imaginable has come out in the format because those are the people who collect movies.
Yeah.
And I'm no exception to that. Not so much horror, but I got plenty of horror movies. But definitely, if it's got a robot in it or they go to the moon or something, I'll probably buy it, even if it's garbage. So I'm not helping. as a member of the the still home video buying market, I'm not helping.
I guess I guess it surprises me how rabid Albert Brooks fans are, and I consider myself one of them, that Defending Your Life hasn't gotten a release.
It's from Warner, and it's not a big hit. It might someday.
But yeah,
Lone Star might someday too. It maybe. I mean, I don't know. Warner owns more movies than anybody else in the world. They have all the MGM movies before a certain year. I believe it's 1984.
Mm-hmm.
So Gone with the Wind, everything, which includes all of RKO's movies and all the stuff that's been folded in there. They own all those. Plus, Warner Brothers themselves were a massive producing studio for years and years and years.
Yeah.
So you just have to be patient with them. They own more movies than anyone, and they release more movies than anyone. But it's still a trickle.
Sure.
And with people not buying stuff anymore, with people streaming, you do start to feel like, well, these just aren't coming.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like if Germany puts out Lone Star, I'm just going to buy it there. I'm not going to wait.
Right.
But Lone Star looks pretty good on DVD. It's not a total travesty, I guess. I don't know. Raise the Titanic looks great, but it's not very good. So I don't know why. I guess I just brought that up so that I could quote Sir Lou Grade because that's such a funny quote.
It's a good line.
Yeah, super rich English guy. I didn't do my super rich English accent, but you can kind of hear it when you hear it say it.
So is there a movie out there, dear listener, that you wish had a release on Blu-ray or that you can't seem to find anywhere, and you wish that you're like, hey, what about blah, blah, blah? What about this movie? Yeah, let us know. Tell us. And, of course, you can reach out to us at Ask Joel and Ryan on Twitter and Instagram, on the Movie Show with Joel and Ryan page on Facebook, Movie Show with Joel and Ryan on YouTube, and Ask Joel and Ryan at gmail.com, and, of course, our site on Podbean, on iTunes, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcast, anywhere you listen to them. Please write a review and leave us a review. Tell us that you like us. We are desperate for praise, and it's what we feed off of. It's basically the only thing that gets us up in the morning.
Yeah, I want you guys to all picture poor Joel sitting at home, checking all these different places that he signed up for all these accounts.
It's true.
Several times a day, looking for just the tiniest ounce of validation from you folks. And day after lonely day, getting nothing. And having to go back to his animal spreadsheet to come up with questions for Ask Joel and Ryan.
Yep.
It's a sad tale.
Question. Oh, I got a question for us
and
today,
only
though.
you can change it.
And as we always say here at the Movie Show with Joel and Ryan, good to the last drop. All right. Let's get into it. Let's do this. I think it's time for a deep dive.
I have to do a deep dive.
Deep dive. Deep dive.
I have to do a deep dive.
Deep dive. Deep dive.
I have to do a deep dive.
Deep dive. Deep dive. Deep dive.
That's right.
Yep.
When we last left our intrepid heroes, Neo was out conscious.
He was out.
So actually, I want to start like literally from the opening moment. Where, we get the Warner Brothers logo, we do all that fun stuff, and then we go into, we get the Matrix code, that vertical green code, and then we just, speaking of deep dives, we go deep into the code, and there is this kind of like this golden explosion, and like it looks like neuron mapping, brain mapping, sort of. It looks very organic, and then from there it pulls hard back out through the code and onto the computer screen, and we see the crew of the Hammer, they're conversing and talking, but
but even the Matrix feed on their monitors looks really weird.
Mm-hmm.
It looks different.
Mm-hmm.
They mentioned that.
And
kind of fun little trivia about that opening that we've described before, but that big horn blast, that big piece of the musical score, that actually goes up one key for each movie.
Really?
I believe it goes from E to F for this film to F sharp.
Wow.
So it escalates as it goes. That's a clever little thing that the composer does. And those openings are very cool.
Yeah.
Even though, well, no, they're very cool. I'll leave that without a caveat because they are cool. The entering the Matrix and seeing what it forms and just that whole code. For 14 years, that was my screensaver at work. The Matrix would come on.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it looks neat.
It's great. It's I mean, it's iconic, and there's a reason why it's iconic. Is it works. It's fantastically weird and creepy and exciting,
one of a kind.
Yeah,
it's cool.
I mean, it's a language that was created for these films. It's it's no different than Klingon, I guess. So yeah, Neo and Bane. It pans out the crew of the Hammer and the Nebuchadnezzar. So Morpheus and everybody's there, and their
crew of the Hammer is all named after handguns. By the way, I think that's kind of funny.
Hey, you're right. Yeah,
there's Colt and Maggie's for Magnum, and I don't know why, but it's just amusing. This is another one of those things where they didn't leave anything to chance. They had an inspiration for the names of the bit players on the Hammer. That's pretty neat.
So they're looking
and
for...
And the Hammer actually travels the... I don't know the Nordic term for the Hammer, the Maginor or whatever.
Oh, Mjolnir?
Yeah. It actually... The Hammer itself, the ship, follows that legend. It travels home. You know what I mean?
Get out. I didn't pick anything. I picked that out.
Well,
that's
those
cool.
are things we weren't really going to dive into too much
but that's
in our discussion. But
that's a cool little tidbit. That's a great little piece of...
It's neat, and I can tell you we're skipping over thing after thing after thing that's like that. Mm-hmm. We're trying to talk about the Matrix movies in a clean, this is what it is sort of way, because I think truly that's missed. Joel and I have had discussions about the Matrix before, and in every one I always say, the Matrix films are disguised. They're disguised by incredible wire-fu and crazy stunts and weird different camera angles, things that we've never seen before. In this film has a giant, as massive a sort of CGI battle scene as is in any movie, even to this day. Yeah. Which is exciting, and our characters are involved, and it's not like it is meaningless, but we already know, having seen that, our event movie brains think that there's hope that they can somehow stop these things from coming. Mm-hmm. But we've been told, and everything we've been told, with a couple key exceptions, have basically come true, which is that Zion is doomed now. However many bullets they shoot and bazookas they fire off at these things, that once the drill comes through the dome of Zion's dock, they're toast. Yeah. They've lost.
Yeah, we were told that. I mean, that was a big part of Reloaded.
Without getting ahead of ourselves, it happens in the movie. Yeah. They fight valiantly, but they do not get it done. Mm-hmm. They just can't. They're outmatched. But that whole sequence isn't at the heart of the story. The heart of the story is what Joel was just about to say before I decided to talk about all this stuff, which is that Neo stopped those sentinels with his brain, and he's unconscious. And where is he? They actually examine his. S.E. Davis plays the medic on the Hammer, and she actually examines his brainwaves, and it looks like a person who's jacked into the Matrix.
She's like, it's weird. I've seen this 100 times before. It looks like someone who's jacked in.
Right.
But he can't be jacked in, Ryan.
He doesn't have a thing stuck in the back of his head.
Oh, it's crazy.
In a way, with the real meaning behind it is a bit of a letdown. Neo's trapped in this way station.
Yep.
it is in the Matrix, but it's like a portal that's sort of outside the Matrix. It's controlled by a very specific program called the Train Man, who's a yet another minion of the Merovingian.
Yeah.
And because he's there, he's in Mobile Station, and we were going to say mobile is a anagram for limbo.
Layers, peel the onion, people.
The Oracle, and maybe when we get to her scene, we'll reveal this. But the Oracle tells him what happened to him. We really don't know.
Right.
We're learning this,
and Neo,
entirely in terms of Matrix metaphors.
Yeah. Yeah,
the train stations coming in and out.
Yep. And while Neo was at that at this train station, at this limbo, this transition zone between the Matrix and the Machine City, he meets a family. He meets a family of programs.
That's right.
Including a girl named Sati.
That's right.
Whose father tells Neo the subway is controlled by the Train Man.
It's a mother, a father, and this daughter, and they're actually, the Train Man's taking them deep into the Matrix so they can drop off their daughter, who's going to be overseen by Seraph and the Oracle, basically babysat by them, because they don't want to lose her.
Because programs aren't supposed to give birth. Programs aren't supposed to create other programs.
Correct. They have a very specific purpose, and when that purpose is done, they go back to the source, and their energy is retooled for something else that has a very specific purpose. Sati has been born, I don't know, I mean, from a program standpoint, but you're right, procreation.
Yeah.
And they don't want to lose her. They found people who will kind of adopt her and take care of her, but they themselves can't go with her. They can drop her off and say goodbye, but they got to get back to what they're doing, or they're going to be eliminated.
And again, it's this idea of program. These are programs, but the programs have learned, and the programs possibly have experienced love.
Yeah,
and
I don't know the name of the actor who plays the very charming and lovely performance, especially since all he's really doing is giving us this exposition about programs and their purposes, something we've been told before, but is told very clearly and out in the open for the first time by this guy. I don't know. It's pretty neat. My goodness, my wife is very direct. He says, because she doesn't like that Neo's in this station with them at all. It's bringing her all this unwanted attention.
Yep.
That's
and
very cute
and
clever.
the train man. So Neo does try to leave with the family.
Yeah, Train Man's
like, nope, I'm down
Train
here.
Man
I am God.
Is played by Australian icon Bruce Spence. Bruce Spence was the gyro captain in the Mad Max movies most famously, but he has been in more big-budget trilogies than any other actor. He's in the Lord of the Rings movies. He plays the Mouth of Sauron. He's in the Matrix films. He's in the Road Warriors in 2 of them. He is in the Star Wars prequels. He plays one of the conspirators. There's more, but I'm not thinking of them right now. But because he's Australian, and they kind of, every movie they do down there at Fox Studios, they if there's a part for him, he kind of finds his way into it.
Sure.
So it's worth mentioning. Bruce Spence, fun to see him. Train Man's a goofy kind of psycho. He looks like a crazy homeless guy, and
and he tells Neo, "You're going to be here for who knows how long, and it doesn't matter."
Merovingian is mad at you, and you're just not coming. And Neo's like, "Hey, I don't want to hurt you, man." And Train Man's like, "You're not going to hurt me. This is my place. I made this place."
Yeah.
He's just a program, but in that train station, he's the boss, and he kind of proves it.
Yep.
So Neo's trapped unless...
So Neo has no idea what to do. Seraph contacts Morpheus and says, on behalf of the Oracle, and says, what's going on with Neo. Neo is trapped. We got to get him out of there. And in order to do that, got to go back to the club.
Got to go back to the Merovingian
and
get him to let him free, because he's the one in charge of all that.
Yep, and it ultimately comes down to there's banter, there's fighting, and then it ultimately leads to Trinity gun to the Merovingian's forehead.
This is Trinity. This is a great moment for Trinity. It's a great moment for Persephone as well. But Trinity just going, Merovingian's making his speeches. Yep. We've seen all this before. We've had a kung fu fight in the lobby. Yep. We're in the Matrix, and we feel like we're repeating ourselves. And Trinity breaks that cycle very much like Neo did when he chose the wrong door.
Yep.
Or maybe the right door. It remains to be seen at this point. But she does this thing where she kind of kicks somebody and a gun flips up in the air and everybody starts pointing at each other. She catches it and points it right at the Merovingian's head. And I just don't know how to tell you how special it is. I really, really love this moment for her.
Mm-hmm.
She says, you just give us what we want, or I'm gonna.
Yeah, she's like,
shoot you.
She's like, how
and
about we make a deal?
Like, oh, you will not do that. Then you will never get him out or whatever. And Monica Bellucci, I believe it's her only line in the whole film. Yeah. She says she'll do it. She'll kill every one of us. She's in love.
She's in love.
She'll kill every one of us to get him free. And she's like, I don't want to put too much on her, but she's getting really excited just talking about the idea of this.
Yeah.
Persephone's very into passion and love.
Yeah, she's absolutely, based on that kiss from the last from the last movie, she absolutely knows and she knows more, she knows uniquely aside from everybody else that and Trinity just goes, better believe it.
She cocks the gun.
Yeah.
Click. That's
Mm-hmm. And
that's
so,
it. And the very next shot is a train rolling into the station.
Is Neo going, you can get yourself out. You can get yourself out of here. And the train pulls in. and there it is. And then we get a nice little reunion moment.
Everybody's in their Matrix best, walking off the train in slow motion. Yep. They run and embrace. And suddenly we got hope for the future again.
So then Neo goes to visit the Oracle. So I got to go see the Oracle.
Yep.
And Oracle reveals that Agent Smith intends to destroy everything.
Oracle is now played by Mary Alice.
Yeah,
instead
this is
of
where
Gloria Foster. We discussed this a little bit last show, but a couple things. It's explained that because the stealing of the Keymaster caused the Merovingian to take revenge against her, and now because of that, she's paid a price and has been transformed somewhat by it. And she says, I would do it again, but I don't really feel like myself. I look a little different. Since it's a deep dive, the deep dive trivia, which I think is really, really cool. When Gloria Foster didn't survive to the end of the shooting, though they were shooting them all at the same time, the Mally Finn, the casting director, remembered that she knew Gloria Foster from this Broadway play. I can't remember the name of the play. I had it. Maybe I've got it here. Hang on. Just let me check because it's a fun story. Might as well get the details right. Emily Mann's Having Our Say. Gloria Foster and Mary Alice played 100-year-old sisters in that in the 90s. And it was a long-running big hit on Broadway. And Mally Finn remembered that, so she got Mary Alice, who was, so there's more of a she kind of looks like her thing to it. Sure. They had been in the show together. They were sisters. They were, friends.
Yep.
And it was one friend stepping in for another to sort of finish that performance.
That's lovely.
It really is. Yeah. So it's worth saying. I was kind of moved when I read that. It's clumsy the way they have to explain why there's suddenly somebody different there.
Mm-hmm.
They thought long and hard. In the behind the scenes, they thought long and hard about just not saying anything.
Not saying anything, yeah.
But they thought ultimately that would be more awkward. So they
in a world, they've created this world. They've created this as part of their world building.
Yeah.
Where everything has 2, 3, 4 meanings and nothing is as it seems.
Right.
Unfortunately, you just couldn't. You couldn't let that go without some explanation as this thing in the Matrix. I get it. But that's lovely.
It's just it makes up for perhaps the silliness of the I'm what does Neo say? I recognize a part of you.
Yeah.
And Sati's there, and they're baking cookies.
Yep, they're baking cookies. she states that everything, though this is where the everything that has a beginning has an end, and that this is indeed the end of the war. Whatever happens, this is the end of the war.
One way or another.
One way or another. So
first time we've heard her say that. She
Yep.
also, because she's been the prophecy according to Morpheus is that he will defeat the machines.
Mm-hmm.
The humans will take back the Earth. That's always been the thing. End the war, yes, but very specifically defeat the machines.
Mm-hmm.
She's never actually said that. She's a program after all. But she does say, you're surprising me.
Mm-hmm.
She offers him a piece of candy, and he takes it. And then she offers him a piece of candy the next time they talk and Reloaded. And he says, no, you already know if I'm going to take it, right? And she's like, yeah, I already know. And then he takes it. This time she whips out the candy, and he says, no, thanks. He doesn't hesitate.
Yeah.
He's never wanted candy. And he finally says no thanks to the candy. I don't know if that means anything, but I thought I'd throw that in there, too, because I thought that was kind of neat.
He's nice.
It's clear that he's never wanted candy. And that he's been trying to do what others expect of him.
Right.
And this time, he's obviously grown beyond that.
Yeah, it goes to a larger character thing of Neo, where Neo will always choose something to help others, something to benefit others over his own needs, his own desires.
Right.
So anyway, so after Neo leaves, a large group of Smiths comes on in.
Just more and more Smiths everywhere you look.
And the greatest Hugo Weaving smile after he chucks those cookies against the wall. That moment of just like, he's living his best life at that point.
He absorbs Seraph. This is off screen.
Seraph,
He absorbs
Sati.
Sati. He finally absorbs the Oracle, and after he does that, you can tell that was something different.
Yep.
He's been taking over these programs one at a time, just tons of them, thousands of them, maybe millions, we don't really know. He's essentially taken over the Matrix.
Yeah.
When he takes over the Oracle, he laughs in the most villainous, maniacal way I've ever seen anyone laugh in a film.
Yeah.
It's super cartoonish. But again, Hugo, he's special. He really does, especially in these films, he really does make that work. And make that, even though it feels goofy, the Oracle's gone, and it feels dangerous.
He now has the Oracle's powers. He knows, he sees everything.
Right.
He
maybe not everything,
but yeah, he sees everything that he thinks he needs to see.
But he has access to everything that she has.
Right. Yeah.
His worldview might.
Yes, thank you. That's a better way to put it.
Might keep him from seeing everything.
That's a better way to put
sees.
it. So then we go back to the real world, and
most of this film, we spent a lot of time in the Matrix at the beginning, and we spent a ton of time in the Matrix and Reloaded. The vast majority of Revolutions takes place in our real world. I don't think we come back to the Matrix again, I think, until the very end, actually.
I think you are right. Yes.
Which makes...
Yes, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
Which makes the film a little more straightforward from here till when we go back.
Yep.
There's a little less decoding to do. But we'll cruise through anyway, see if there's anything interesting to talk about.
So we're back on... the crew of the Hammer and the Nebuchadnezzar find Niobe's ship. They find the Logos. They reactivate it.
Yep, because they've used their EMP, their electromagnetic pulse, to kill the Sentinels that were attacking them. So it has to be recharged before it can work again. These EMPs are powerful weapons, but they kill everything, including the ships.
Yep. And so back in the real world, Neo is now awake. They after getting him out of the way station, the subway station, Bane is also awake.
Yeah, Bane.
And Bane, who
he doesn't have any answers.
Nope, he has no idea. So the captains of these ships are all talking and trying to figure out how best to get back and defend Zion. Neo requests the ship to travel to the Machine City.
Right.
He has these visions. He sees stuff going on in Machine City, and so he's I gotta go.
Which is a suicide mission, as we know it, if there ever was one.
Sure.
And the Captain of the Hammer is having none of that. He's got this great speech about, blah, 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 my ship this, my ship that. And Niobe, who, for whatever reason, just sort of out of in the pause after the storm of that speech says, well, he can have my ship.
Yeah. Which apparently that's part of her. That was part of her visit to the Oracle. That's something about her. What the Oracle told her.
Right. She's actually the one that said. Morpheus says, "What did she say to you?" And she goes, "She's actually the one that says what she always says. Exactly what I needed to hear."
Yeah.
Niobe's kind of a cool character. If it weren't for the love triangle, I think we'd think more of her.
Sure. The love triangle seems a little wedged in there.
It's whatever. It gives you connections between these characters, but it's
a small criticism in my. I mean, it feels a little like
it's
okay.
there so that Locke and these new people can be connected. I get that. There's only so many ways you can do that. They don't dwell on it, which is why I don't hate it.
Yep.
But its existence and its development and its payoff aren't very good. So I do get the criticism. But Niobe's really cool. This moment, because the Captain of the Hammer can't believe his ears and starts to argue with her. And she goes, you will not, after that speech you just gave, you will not tell me what I could do with my ship.
Right. Yeah.
That's a really badass moment.
So in Reloaded, of course, Neo did everything he could to prevent Trinity from going on to being part of any mission that could cause her harm because of the visions. This time, even though he knows going to Machine City ain't going to be a good thing,
right?
He does not. He's like, great, cool, come with.
He expects not to return, but
Trinity goes with.
Yep. There would be no talking out of it. Anyone who knows her at this point, obviously.
So, we get on to the Logos, but who is there who has stowed away on the Logos?
Uh-oh.
That'd be Mr. Bane. Bane.
And by the time the crew of the Hammer find their medic dead and realize that he's slipped away, it's way too late. They have to get back to Zion.
Yeah, they can't go, and he says they're on their own at this point.
Right.
Yeah.
Morpheus says it.
That's right. Morpheus is the one who says it. Yeah.
There's nothing we can do. Niobe's got this plan to use one of these access tunnels to fly back to Zion to get there quick enough to assist meaningfully in its defense, which everybody's against. But it's kind of cool. The Hammer now has suffered losses. The Logos has. The Nebuchadnezzar has. And they're kind of like a ship super crew at this point.
Yeah.
Niobe, who's a captain, Morpheus, who's a captain, and the Captain of the Hammer. Niobe's considered basically the best pilot of these things ever. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? There's this perfect mix of people to do this mission. That's the B mission, but it's still worth mentioning.
Yeah, yeah. So over on the Logos, Bane has now. Bane is able to.
Reveals himself.
He reveals himself.
He kind of takes the Logos down and makes it malfunction and reveals himself. Reveals his true self.
He kidnaps Trinity. He's holding Trinity hostage.
Right.
And he's like Mr. Anderson. Keeps talking about Mr. Anderson, and Neo's like Mr. What is going? He's like
takes Neo. Well, I guess to be fair, but it takes him a long time.
It takes a long time for Neo to go.
One Mr. Anderson would have done it.
You'd think. But anyway, so a fight. So they fight, and he's able to. Trinity is able to gets thrown down away from
where some
the
sort
fight.
Of weird tube.
Yeah, the weird tube
full of tubes.
And so that leads to Bane and Neo duking it out, battle, fighting. And in just kind of a badass moment, part of this fight that you don't really see coming. That pun poorly timed. No. Bane grabs this electrical wire and just zaps Neo in the eyes.
Yeah.
And cauterizes his whole eye sockets and just blinds him.
Yep.
And it's badass.
It is pretty nasty. Bane is really cool.
Yep. And
in a creepy, weird, awful Agent Smith, but also not Agent Smith way.
Yeah, so then he's able to pontificate about how, this is it for you, Mr. Anderson. And, everything.
And again, I gave him props last show, but Ian Bliss really does a great.
Oh, it's spectacular.
You really do believe Hugo's in the room with him. It's fantastic when he actually lets it loose.
And he is just he's given that villainous speech before he thinks he's going to do in The Hero, grabs a big old crowbar, swing, and a miss.
Oops.
Because Neo
saw that swing coming.
He says,
somehow.
I can see you. And then we get a POV.
Not only I can see you, I can see everything.
Yeah, he can see everything.
I've seen all this before.
Yep.
Neo is seeing through prescience only.
Mm-hmm.
He sees the future, and because he sees the future, he can see his present before it happens, and he can actually see things without eyes. It's an idea, I think, stolen right out of Dune.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Right out of Dune.
Yep.
It's the same exact idea, but if you're going to steal,
steal
big,
steal
cool.
from the best, yeah.
That's right.
And so so we get a POV of Neo, and everything is like this kind of like this flaming golden light.
Yeah.
Everything looks like it's
anti-Matrix.
Anti-Matrix, and Neo is able to kill Bane, and they get the Logos back up and running, Trinity behind the wheel, and off they go to Machine City. Now we head back to the Hammer. Niobe and Morpheus set out for Zion with the Hammer to aid the human defenses against the Sentinels. Meanwhile, the Sentinels have... the attack on Zion is well underway.
Right.
It is a battle. They are people are.
They've got these large kind of. They're like the power loaders in Aliens.
That's what I would say about them too.
The trooper exoskeleton things in
Avatar.
They're in these very James Cameron-ish.
Yeah, I was going to say they look
body suits.
They looked like the big RoboCop. Thing like if a person were to sit in the big RoboCop thing that RoboCop battles at the end of RoboCop. I'm going to keep saying
the RoboCop thing that RoboCop battles at the end of
the big automated the RoboCops that don't have a person.
I wish I knew the number. It's the Ed something. I don't remember the number. Otherwise, I'd sound pretty boss remembering that.
Yeah.
They do look like that. Big mechanical feet, but really they look more like the power loader in Aliens, except instead of claws, they have giant guns on the ends of each arm.
So that battle's going on, and they know that the hammer is on its way.
And Locke and the kid and Harold Perrineau, whose character I can't remember, but...
Link, I think?
Yeah, Tank's ex-wife, former wife, because he died. She's fighting it out. She's got a partner. Everybody we've met in Zion are part of this battle. And let's say the battle goes on and on and on and on. People run out of bullets. People, just reloading a thing is like a epic struggle, basically. But they do a pretty good job at first of holding these things off. There's just way too many Sentinels. You just got to... These octopuses, you can imagine these, thousands and thousands. They just keep coming and never stop.
Yep.
These giant drills, once they tunnel through the roof, they kind of like re-engage wherever they are and start tunneling just to tear stuff apart.
Right.
So they're not, they're still a threat too and really powerful and so.
So
blah blah.
But as the battle, and as the battle starts to
big battle,
the big battle, and when it. Obviously things are looking bleak, but they say we got to get the gate open. We have to open the gate so the hammer can get through.
Yeah, the hammer, somehow it's coming.
Yeah.
The hammer gets through and shoots off its EMP when it comes into the dock.
And so it takes care of all those Sentinels.
Lays waste to everything. It takes care of Zion's defenses, its gate controls. It takes care of the hammer itself.
Yep.
Literally everything that's run on electricity in this place is shot.
Yep. So
and you can't recharge because the only place you could recharge the hammer is Zion, and that's no longer works.
Yep.
Desperation move. Unfortunately, there's more drills and more Sentinels coming.
Yep. So everybody's retreating
back into the rave cave.
Yeah, and getting ready for the rave cave. Getting ready for their final stand. But now we cut back to the Logos.
But they're really, if you really, we've watched their final stand. What they're doing in the rave cave is huddled together in fear, waiting to die.
Yeah,
they have
essentially
no chance.
Yep. And
once the door to the rave cave comes down, they're done.
That's it.
Which I believe they call the temple.
Sure. They should have been calling it.
Maybe. Then.
Should have been calling
I'm calling
Rave
it
Cave.
the Rave Cave. They should have called it that.
So now we go back to Neo and Trinity in the Logos.
Oh, my goodness.
They are getting close to Machine City.
Not a lot of insight mixed in with this plot reenactment, but this is the most straightforward part of the Matrix sequels. This large middle section of the Matrix Revolutions. It really is just, we get from here to there, this is what we're doing, blah, blah, blah.
So the Logos, as they're getting close to Machine City, obviously Machine City is going to enact its defenses. Right. And in this case, it's a crap ton of missiles.
That's right.
Yeah, and so Neo is like, well, I'll use my force brain, like I did on those Sentinels in the last movie. He's like, chill, I'm going to see if I can take care of these missiles, and he does a chunk of them.
Yep, but
there's
not everyone.
Yeah, it takes a lot to stop a crap ton.
Yep,
and
but it's fun. We've seen him go to limbo. I've been waiting to see him use his powers in the real world, like we saw at the end. I felt like that was such a big deal.
Yep.
And it turns out to not be that big a deal, ultimately. It's cool, and he stops these missiles, but that's about the gist of it.
Right.
Everything else he needs to do, he really needs to get back in the Matrix to do.
Yep. So, but these missiles, there is this cool moment. The missiles force them. They fly up. They keep going up and up and up,
and they
break through the clouds.
They see the sun,
and they see the real sky of the Earth.
Right. That's kind of neat.
And it's this neat moment, especially considering what is about to happen.
Right. And this is, I hate to say this at this point, it feels absurd, but just to be on the safe side, massive spoiler alert coming for Matrix Revolutions.
Sure. No, you're absolutely right.
And we've told you the whole story of the trilogy, so you really, hopefully you've seen these, or didn't want to see them and wanted us to reenact them for you.
That's true.
That's cool too.
But
this is the first big thing, and the big ending happens right here. I'll let Joel.
So they crash. They crash in the Logos gets down. They lose control. It crashes into Machine City.
Yeah,
and the crash claims Trinity. Trinity is now dead.
Has she done anything on this trip of use?
She flew above the clouds.
That was her.
Mm-hmm. And she got to say beautiful. She got to
Which
be
it
with,
was.
And she got to be with Neo.
Trinity nailed that. It was very beautiful, the sun, the sky.
Oh.
It is kind of neat in a movie with all this artifice that it's the most magical moment is a natural thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a little cheesy to say, but I actually really do think that's cool. The sun coming out when you haven't seen it for an inordinate amount of time is a very powerful thing.
Yep. Those of us who live in Minnesota in the wintertime.
I'm only asking about Trinity if she helped much, because she helped with Bane, kind of, but not really.
And helped him get. And
I just feel a little bad that we lose her.
Yeah, she had. It was her big moment of breaking the cycle that got the deal, that got Neo out of limbo.
Right.
And
she does pilot that ship. When he stops those missiles, she's the one that basically saves him from the rest of them.
Mm-hmm.
And then she gets impaled by all this stuff.
Yep. But now Neo is,
and their goodbye scene is very sad.
Yeah, it's very sad. But now it's one of those. Neo's refocused. He's focused. He does not have that entanglement of love. He is, back more towards a singular purpose of I'm going to go in.
He has no eyes. He's seeing everything in a new way. He's very liberated and direct.
And now he's Neo goes into Machine City and he meets the Deus Ex Machina.
Which is a great. I mean, that's
great.
That pun has been used several times since, but that's the first time that term was used in this sort of sci-fi setting.
Yep.
And it not only fits from a metaphorical perspective a little bit, not completely, but a little. Not as much as I think people think. We'll get to that.
Right.
Which is this. It's great. Visually, it's really an exciting new thing. The city is this perfectly symmetrical cylinders. It's amazing looking. the Deus Ex Machina is made up of like not sentinels, but the sorts. It's clearly the same kind of technology.
Mm-hmm.
All these moving things, all these tiny pieces that come together to form one thing.
Yep.
It's like this super cool early 2000 version of the Master Control program in Tron. It's a face.
Yeah.
And it's the face of like a cherub, of a baby, of a fat baby's face.
Mm-hmm.
And it speaks with this ridiculously booming and powerful mechanized voice. And what happens?
And it speaks with this voice, and it lets us know that they don't know what to do with Agent Smith. Agent Smith is screwing everything up.
That's the conversation that they have.
Yeah.
And Neo knows this, actually. I mean, he sort of brings up the subject, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Neo's the one. He goes in and says Smith is planning on he plans on taking over everything.
He won't be. Part of him's already existed here, and he will not be satisfied with ruling the Matrix.
And so Neo says,
"So jack me in,
and I'll take care of him in exchange.
You'll let Zion survive.
Yeah, you stay. You leave Zion alone, and that'll be the deal. I'll take care of Smith. You stop the attack and let humanity live."
Yep.
And
not exactly destroying the machines.
Not exactly destroying machines. Trying to find
at this point. It sounds like a good deal.
It's as good as humanity's going to get, especially because he went through the other door.
Right.
So the machines are like, cool.
To save
done.
Trinity.
Yeah, he went to the other door to
save
save Trinity. He chose love over.
But she died anyway.
Yeah, but she died anyway. But
really,
they got
just a few short hours later.
Yeah, they got to have a
story.
They got to have a nice reunion. Yeah, they got to have a little bit of a reunion.
Yeah,
and they got to be with each other.
They
when
got to hug
died.
in the train station.
So the machines. So Neo is back into the Matrix, and they're
back on. By the way, back on that street corner that he called the machines from, that payphone at the end of the Matrix.
Correct.
Same street.
And
kind of neat little touch.
And there are all the Smiths. All the Smiths are there hanging
Smiths in infinite regress, going back as far as the eye can see.
Yep, but they're not attacking.
They're just hanging out.
Yep, because the Smith that was the Alpha Smith who was the Oracle.
Yes.
Says, "Hey, I already know what's going to happen. I have foreseen this.
I have destroyed you.
I've destroyed you. So
these Smiths are going to sit this one out, and I'm just going to take care of business.
Yep,
like a boss."
And
Neo
and chaos ensues.
Neo strikes a kung fu pose.
Yep, and says, "Boom, bring that on."
The rain is worth mentioning in the scene too.
Yeah.
The rain is coming down.
Yeah, it's all. I mean, yeah, he even says, do you like what I've done with the place?
But the rain is cool. It's one of the trickier effects that they did in Revolution. So really, all the films, the rain is coming down for this whole sequence, very rainy, and within the rain is the code to the Matrix, which suggests that the code to the Matrix is breaking down. The rain is moving like the Matrix moves in these sort of perfect parallel. It's just you take it for granted when you're watching it, because we've seen rain and we've seen fake rain, and that's what this is. But it's visually, it's kind of stunning and more than that. This kung fu fight is not a lot of kung fu to it. It's one big hit that sends one guy flying. It's another big hit that sends another guy flying. It's sort of like Superman fighting Bizarro Superman.
Sure. Yeah.
Two perfectly evenly matched things that don't seem, frankly, like they're getting anywhere with each other.
Yeah.
They in one flight sequence where they're pounding on each other and fighting, they come back down to Earth, the fake Matrix Earth. They cause this entire crater. And then at the bottom of the crater, Neo lays it down, basically.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and Neo, and Agent Smith is like, why? Why do you keep persisting? Why do you persist? And he's like, because I choose to.
Right. And now I choose not to.
And then he chooses, and then he's like, and then a few short seconds later, then he's like, you know what, Agent Smith, you were right. It was inevitable.
Right.
And Neo allows himself
to be absorbed by Agent Smith. And Agent Smith starts to he absorbs him. It's his victory. He gets really excited.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice. I think it's nice that Agent Smith gets to have 3 to 7 seconds
he gets
where
this
he thinks
great
he's
moment
the
where
greatest
this is
thing
it.
in the world.
But then...
Now, I've read a lot of summaries of this moment.
Okay.
This moment's important.
Mm-hmm.
It's not literal. For a big ending, it's just not a literal moment. You have to take it apart a little bit. It's one of the most important things in the film. There's a cut in there that shows the Deus Ex Machina. It shows Neo jacked in and shows these sort of tendrils of electricity and stuff flowing through through him into the Matrix.
Yep.
And a lot of people have speculated that that's Deus Ex Machina when these two are making this connection, killing Agent Smith, or infecting him. And I argue strongly that is happening kind of the whole time. They're all connected. That's important. Mm-hmm. But what really does Agent Smith in is that his purpose from the first second we met him, and he has embraced this purpose with fanatical belief and faith that rivals even Morpheus's, unshakable faith that he's going to destroy Neo and destroy the One and take things over. When he's done that and Neo's gone, Neo sacrificed himself, Agent Smith's purpose has ended. Mm-hmm. There's no reason for us to be told that over and over and over and over again. That how important these programs' purposes are. His purpose has ended, and he is sent back to the source. And the Deus Ex Machina, basically the machines, they take control of his energy and they repurpose it. And all the Smiths, they all have the same purpose. They're all just duplicated programs in a single-minded way. And it's Neo that realizes he's learned these lessons. He's been told in many different ways by the Merovingian, by the Oracle, by Sati's father, each step of the way, that everything has its purpose, and that without it, the best you are is a ghost.
Yeah.
He's eliminated because of that. Because the only way Smith to survive is for Neo to be there to hunt.
Sure.
That's why it's a sacrificial moment of his. He gets what he's doing. The only way to defeat Smith is to give himself up and to let him be destroyed.
Yeah.
Clearly, if there's some other weird electronic effect magic going on there, then it's supplemental to the greater meaning, which is that program doesn't have a reason.
Yeah, it doesn't have a reason,
and because it doesn't,
but it wasn't connected. It wasn't connected to the source code,
right?
Anymore.
In the Matrix, it was freed.
Yeah, it was freed, and so by taking over Neo, and Neo is connected to the source, the source is finally able to access him again to say,
correct.
Okay, you're done. Boom.
That's what happens.
Yeah.
And it's really neat.
Mm-hmm.
We're not explained that anywhere in the movie.
No.
And I'm not poo-pooing general audiences for not getting it. It isn't explained, really. It's explained kind of the whole franchise. Yeah. But it isn't explained in that moment. It's not really clear what happened. What happens next, they find out in Zion that Neo has won and that they're going to survive.
Yeah.
And that the Sentinels have been called off. They don't exactly know why, but it's a neat moment. The kid of all people, he comes running in.
Hey, it's over.
It's over.
Yeah.
Niobe gives Morpheus a big romantic hug. They're going to be back together again.
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah,
they're going to be.
This has brought them back together.
Yeah, they're going to be making.
Well, her taking a step in his direction, believing a little bit in something that is sort of not tangible, and frankly, his unshakable faith being shaken, and his doubts have made him a sort of more well-rounded guy that maybe has room for a lady in his life. Well, that's a neat moment. Two of my favorite characters.
Yeah. I mean, I actually I don't know if we actually even said though that Neo allowing himself to be assimilated, and then that in turn allowing the Deus Ex Machina to take care of Agent Smith, to delete his programming.
Right.
That does cost Neo his life. Neo is dead.
No,
yeah.
Neo sacrificed his whole existence.
Yeah, we did say sacrifice, but yeah, Neo is done.
Neo
is, and the machines kind of carry him off.
That's the
it's
ultimate
really
sacrifice.
neat. Yeah,
that's a Messiah's job.
Yeah.
Rarely do Messiahs from prophecies get to the end.
Yep.
In one piece.
Yep, and go, hey, cool.
Harry Potter aside, usually, well, even him. Even him.
We'll save that for our for our 7-part Harry Potter discussion.
As I think further on it, he is no exception.
He is no exception.
It's very cool, and it's cooler the more you think about it. And to me, that's the sign of a really good movie.
So Zion has survived. There are people still living there, but the Matrix, of course, needs to be rebooted.
Right.
And it is, so we cut to a rebooted Matrix, and the architect
is standing next to the Oracle, who's sitting on a bench, and on the bench, if you look closely, says, "In loving memory of Thomas Anderson."
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Kind of neat.
That's a nice little moment. It would have been better if it was said in loving memory of Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Anderson.
Yeah, if it's all spelled out phonetically.
Yeah, because I forgot his
Anderson.
first name was Thomas. No one calls him that.
So we have the Oracle.
Is there,
Sati
is there.
They're all there. And the Oracle and the
it's like the end of Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, the Oracle turns to the it said, did you have any clue did you know that this was? No, he didn't say. Seraph is the one who says, "Did you know this was going to happen?" But the Oracle is like, "How long do you think?" I mean, the architect is like, "How long do you think this is going to?"
Yeah, the architect's a little cynical. He says, "How long do you think this peace will
whatever.
last?"
He's like, "Fine."
And the Oracle says, "As long as it can."
Yeah.
That's important because it's important to me because sometimes that's the best you can do.
Yep.
And it's not, we don't see the machine world crushed. We don't see humanity rise back to the top. Humanity's they're allowed to live in the Matrix if they want. Everybody's going to be made self-aware.
Everyone's going to be given a choice.
But they don't have to huddle up in the rave cave if they don't want. They're going to offer the Matrix to people. There's no reason that plenty of people, a high statistical amount of people, myself included, would choose to live in the Matrix. So that battery life is still going to maintain, the machines are going to be able to maintain the level of existence that they've gotten used to.
Yeah, they'll take a hit, but it's not going to be, they're not going to be decimated.
Anybody who wants to leave will be allowed to leave.
Yep.
And maybe humanity and the machines will be able to coexist on Earth together.
Yeah, obviously
maybe
Zion,
heal some of the planet.
Zion is going to get bigger. Yeah, you got to, and I think that was the importance of getting above the clouds and seeing that the sun and everything is there. Is maybe there's a way
very Buddhist.
That,
in that everybody's going to have knowledge now.
Yeah,
nobody's going to be tricked or deceived.
Sure. Yeah, and the level of even this idea that
and peace
Zion,
lasting as long as it can, as a stand-in for victory, is not terribly cinematic, but it's very cool when you think about it.
But
a lot of people were let down by détente between all these entities.
Yep.
I think that's rather poetic and kind of neat and surprising.
Yep. So real quick to put a button on it, Sati's there, asks the Oracle, do you think we'll ever see Neo again?
Well, I think so.
I think so. And then Seraph asks, the Oracle, did you know this was going to happen?
Oh, no. But I believed, she says.
Boom.
I believed.
Yeah.
Roll credits and some score this time, not a industrial, noisy, garbage rock tune at the end.
Sure.
It's kind of nice.
Yeah. It's
and the sun comes up.
Sun comes up. Sati has created this beautiful sunrise for Neo.
Yep.
Yeah, and again, so we have this idea that Zion obviously is going to get a lot bigger. Maybe they are going to be able to assist and help, and get some sort of semblance of human life existing on Earth again.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that, I mean, yeah, and I could see the trilogy, obviously, yeah, these last two movies disappointed a lot of people. The 15-year-old boys who went out to see this, that saw the first movie, who 5 years later went out and wanted to see the second movie and see,
Yeah.
They
well,
were
and we were in
disappointed.
our mid-20s-ish, late 20s. Even those people. I remember a bunch of cool kids that I was doing a theater show with at the time, hanging out, talking about, well, I just hope they don't over-explain everything. That was what they were saying before Reloaded was about to open.
Yeah.
And I thought, yeah, I agree with that. I hope they don't explain everything. Well, I think I don't want to say they went too far in the wrong direction, because having to decode the story and looking for the deeper meanings in it is the joy of the Matrix sequels. You have to be willing to do a little work, and that is a lot to ask of people going to a popcorn movie. And it's not that deep. It's not like it's some, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's this huge entertainment. It is what it is. But all these other bits of meaning, these parallel stories, I didn't get all of them from watching them or repeatedly watching them. I got some of them, which was nice.
Sure.
But I was reading about them, reading other people explain them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There's YouTube videos where people break it down for you. Those were enjoyable to me, and then I started thinking, and as I started thinking, I really enjoyed them more. It's why the Matrix Trilogy is a trilogy of the movie show with Joel and Ryan's, because there's a lot of plot to get through for sure, but there's a lot of deeper meaning and a lot of really cool moments that mean more than what they feel when they're being executed in admittedly some rather cliched, blockbuster kind of ways.
Yeah.
You have to put up with those cliches and the cheesiness to get to the heart of the matter, but I find with time that the two actually coexist rather peacefully.
Mm-hmm.
I think that free will and determinism in those films coexist peacefully. The machines and the humans can coexist peacefully.
Yeah.
Maybe you and me can coexist peacefully. It gives you hope.
It does.
That we'll all have our sunrise at the end that Sati will create for us. It's possible.
Do you have any thoughts on the Matrix Trilogy? You've now listened to us talk about it for in excess of 3 hours. So if you please, if you have anything that you don't understand about the trilogy, please reach out to us. We will bring this up again. We'll talk about the Matrix a little more.
Yeah, well, we're certainly happy to engage on them.
Yeah.
If there was something we missed or a question that we failed to answer, we didn't answer all the questions. We think 3 shows is probably enough. But we'd love to go over the finer details with you guys if you want.
Mm-hmm. So that is the Matrix.
Yep. Thanks for your patience.
Yeah,
with us
thank you. And if you have something, please reach out to us at Ask Joel and Ryan, Twitter, Instagram, Movie Show with Joel and Ryan on Facebook, YouTube, AskJoelAndRyan@gmail.com, Podbean, iTunes. There you go. But you know who? There is someone who had a question.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Who gave you the right to play God?
Yeah.
Is that the question?
I have a question. Who gave you the right to play God?
What the hell's going on out here?
Why do I bother?
What is the point in doing anything?
How dare you!
What more do you want from me?
I have a question.
It's happened before, and
Yep.
it will happen again. I
So
always play the wrong one.
It
the short
was
one.
It was. I thought. I know we're going long on time, but we can at least
no
play the
need
full
to
sounder.
abbreviate the awesome "I have a question" fanfare.
This comes from our good friend Rob.
Hey, cool.
Good friend. And
we know Rob, friend of the show.
Friend of the show, Rob. And extra credit to Rob because he even starts this paragraph. I have a question.
Nice,
Yep.
good work.
Is it okay? So this is all Rob talking. Is it me or does
I'm not sure I'm ready for this. Can I take a breath? I know we're running out of time. But
Sure.
I was expecting another animal
question?
Yeah, just okay.
No. Actually, yeah, I forgot to mention that. I actually
ahead.
did have good old Rob came through.
No, we appreciate that, man. A lot.
Is it me? This is a nice long question, so you'll get a
Cool.
chance to think about your answer.
Nice.
Is it me or does the mass media or in general the population public, have confusion over the difference between a reboot and a sequel. For example, he recently read some articles about Shaft coming out in 2019 that are calling it a reboot, but it stars Samuel L. Jackson, who played Shaft in 2000. That's a sequel in my book. A confusingly named sequel, but a sequel. Men in Black International, called a reboot, but it's a sequel, just focusing on different characters in the same universe. Proof is that Emma Thompson is playing the same character in it that she played in Men in Black 3. Headline I saw today on IGN. Terminator reboot, title officially revealed. It then states in the article that it's a sequel to Terminator 2. Sequels/prequels are continuations of an existing story world. Reboots are basically remakes with an eye towards a new ongoing franchise. It's new world building. That's me editorializing. The new Star Trek films are sort of a dilemma, though. It's like a reboot, but it's actually a prequel that establishes an alternate timeline. Thoughts?
Going back to the initial part of your question, Rob, it's just you. All that stuff you just said, that's not happening. I don't know what you're talking about, man. It's just you.
It's just you.
Nah, look, I hate to say this because what you've said is you poured out a great case.
Yeah.
For making the distinction and not being sloppy about it. Here at the Movie Show with Joel and Ryan, we appreciate clarity as much as anything. In our critical work, that's what we do. That's what we like to provide. In our giant trilogy of Matrix deep dive episodes, we've tried to provide clarity to what those things are about. We've sort of forsaken a critical view of even the technical merits and some other things to get to the point. So I appreciate what you're saying, but I have to say, I hate to say this, but you're both right. You're both right. Yeah, it's a sequel's a sequel if it's a continuation. Yeah, the Star Trek movies are tricky the way you said. But anytime you take a franchise out of the dust, stick the same name on it, even if it is a continuation of the story, you're rebooting that bad boy. That's how Hollywood sees it, and they're right to see it that way because it's, let's make more money on Men in Black. We can sell that. We've sold it before. That's not scary. Let's do it again. You know that movie we did that made us all that money? Let's do that movie again, but do it different. And if the creative people behind it, God bless them, make them sequels or continuations or try and work within the framework that they've been given. I mean, I love that. I would prefer that in most cases because I don't want to see remakes. But they're all, I got to say, after a certain amount of time, they're all reboots at this point. That's just kind of the reality. It's the cynical reality of it. And so I can't jump on the bandwagon that removes that term just because the story is actually a continuation. You know, the best example is The Thing. There's a movie from 1982. Well, it's called John Carpenter's The Thing, and then it's a remake of The Thing from the other world. But there's 82 The Thing, and then there's 2011-ish, something like that, The Thing. They're both called The Thing. The studio wanted a remake of The Thing, and the filmmakers, to their credit, were like, well, we can remake The Thing and actually make a prequel to The Thing. So we're not just doing a remake of a movie we can't possibly make better.
Yeah.
I mean, they just recognized that. But still, we can take our own stab at the same material.
Yeah. The studio standpoint is, we have all this technology now. We can make the thing look really cool and have all this stuff. We can make a bunch of money by the special effects.
But more than even
story,
that.
Yeah, the story they were not going to improve.
It's just we can sell it. We can sell it.
Sure.
It's the Thing's gained popularity over the years, and we can sell more Thing. Is sell, man. That's the whole game, and that's what rebooting is all about. And from that perspective, they are reboots. All this history repeating itself. So I hope I didn't muddy up the waters. That's not my intention, but you're both right. Truly, you're really right. They're not reboots by definition, and we've sort of lost the meaning of that. But we've lost the meaning of that because of its ubiquitousness and the fact that the term has virtually nothing to do with the creative process. So that's sort of sad, but that's how it is, I think.
So in the Harry Potter universe,
yeah,
we go from the Harry Potter films to the
Fantastic Beast films.
Are those considered prequels?
Well, they are prequels.
They are prequels, yeah, right? Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember my stories, and I haven't seen the
They are
latest one yet.
prequels.
Oh yeah, because the latest one has Dumbledore in it. Yeah,
That's
so
right.
of course it'd be prequel. Yeah, sorry,
Yeah, they are prequels.
Sorry,
they are literally prequels.
I'm ending this on a dumb note, on Joel being dumb.
Dumb, dumb, dumb.
Anyway,
Fantastic Beasts are prequels.
Thank you all so much for joining us on this deep dive through the Matrix. Thank you for staying with us. Obviously, Ryan and I have enjoyed talking about this, and I hope that
we took a little leap of faith that you would enjoy listening to it.
We hope that you've enjoyed listening to us talk about this.
If there was ever a time for you to write us one of those little emails or write a little review to tell us that you like us, this would be the time.
Please, yeah. And
We're feeling a little insecure.
And I will be sitting alone in my dark little hovel, waiting and checking all these websites and hoping that you'll reach out to us.
I hope so.
Please feel free to write us again, and next week we'll have something fun for you.
Something totally different.
Thank you for listening to The Movie Show with Joel and Ryan. Remember, all views and opinions represented in this podcast are personal and belong solely to the speaker and do not represent those people, institutions, or organizations that the speaker may or may not be associated with, unless explicitly stated. None of these views and opinions were intended to malign or deceive. And now, here's the producers, circa 1982, to play us out.
Did you always know?
Oh, no. No, I didn't. But I believed.